Deep beneath the Frostback Mountains sits Orzammar, the larger of two known remaining dwarven cities in the world. Orzammar was once the seat of a major empire connected by tunnels called Deep Roads, which stretched thousands of miles. The city now stands alone, cut off from the rest of the dwarven ancestral lands by the Darkspawn incursion. Secure in Orzammar's impregnable construction, the dwarven noble houses continue their centuries-old power struggles. Assassination and blackmail are commonplace, but the appearance of honor is paramount. You are the second child of King Endren of House Aeducan, the 9th Aeducan ruler elected by the noble assembly. You grew up in a world rife with political intrigue, and have struggled against brothers and cousins for honor and prestige. Today, a feast celebrates your first military commission, the opening move towards real power in the ever-changing game of dwarven politics.
Greetings, my lady. You are dressed and ready. Excellent. I couldn't find the armor's matching dagger, but I scrounged up a rather fancy longsword. Do you wish to wear your shield to the noble's feast? You sure that's all you want me to do to you? Don't you remember how this game goes? I get undressed, then one of your brothers or cousins appears and thrashes me. I'll take my chances somewhere outside the palace if you don't mind. Perhaps after the feast. Well, thoughts for later, I suppose. Moving on to the business at hand. The king expects you to make an appearance at the feast, but there's no rush. The noble family heads will spend hours boring your father with petitions and petty grievances. The usual. This lord had my cousin killed, this lord seduced my wife, this lord did the exact thing I'd planned to do to him, but he did it first. They pose and bluster, and each pretends he is the honorable man in a den of thieves and assassins. Bah. The rest is worth seeing, though. As part of the celebrations, permits have been auctioned off to members of the merchant caste who wish to sell wares in the Diamond Quarter. Lord Harrowmont has also opened up the provings for young warriors to test their mettle before tomorrow's battle. Rumor has it that Harrowmont hopes you'll be swept off your feet if a well-placed young nobleman wins the provings in your honor. Win the proving in your own honor. That would be most interesting. Shall we then? With you as always, my lady. The day is ours until the feast.
I'm sorry. I thought you were Prince Balin coming down the hall. Forgive me.
Prince Balin is attending the feast being held in Lady Aeducan's honor.
Yes, of course. It was presumptuous of me to think that he would return to... I am sorry. I will show myself out. With your leave, my lady.
Go.
Thank you. I will go now.
My lady? You never know who is listening, my lady. It's safer this way. Not much that you don't already know. My father's father was a great hero of the Deep Roads excursions and raised the family to the top of the warrior caste. He was even nominated to join the assembly and found a noble house, but the honor was in the nomination. He wasn't afforded a single vote. My father served your father for many years, and now I serve you. Yes, I yearn to face the Darkspawn and prove my worth as your second. May the stones support us, and the ancestors look down with pride.
Please, Master Volney. My work is accredited by the Shaper.
These books are lies written by the enemies of House Volney.
I write only what I find in the ancient records. Lady Aeducan, you can vouch for my work, can't you? Your father loved my History of Aeducan, Paragon King, Peacemaker.
The king, as well as several other lords, are quite fond of his work. He writes of the ancient paragons.
This worm has written a book that slanders my house. It doesn't matter, it's all lies.
My work tells the stories of all those raised to paragons in the last 500 years. When the Assembly names a paragon, that man or woman is then, by definition, everything one can aspire to be in the world. They form their own noble houses and are revered as living ancestors. But paragons start off as men.
Volney was more than a man.
Aeducan was much loved, but he was still a man. He was plagued by melancholy, and his fervor regarding Orzammar's safety bordered on obsession. When Aeducan was proposed as a paragon, only one lord in the assembly objected. The others savagely hacked him to death. Aeducan's motion passed without a single dissenting vote.
Unlike Volney, is that what you mean, old man?
Volney became a paragon by the narrowest margin in history. One vote. A vote mired in rumors of intimidation, intrigue, and outright bribery. The records of that vote are kept in the Shaperate and are a matter of fact. Not liking history doesn't make it any less true.
You're taking his side? What if he published a book like this about your paragon Iduken? You would not say so if it was your house, but I shall respect your wishes. For now, excuse me, your highness.
That fool has no idea how weak his house is or how low he sits in it. Shall I have him killed, my lady?
Well, historically, it has been prudent to eliminate a small threat before it becomes larger.
How do you want it done? Understood.
Shown yourself more daring and aggressive today than most believed of you. Someday I hope to write of the great exploits you are sure to perform.
Word has been sent. He won't live past the hour.
You've shown House Iduken a friend to research, history, and the glory of our people. Of course, I have much to document and organize. Good day, Your Highness. And thank you.
Our trust follow, big sister. How surprising to run into you out among the common folk.
Especially since duty requires that you attend our King Father at the feast today. Have you so little respect for him to disregard his wishes on a day set aside for you?
Lord Harrowmont told me we wouldn't be needed for hours at least.
Silence! If I want the opinion of my siblings second, I will ask for it.
Yes, your highness.
I speak to lower houses and castes as they should be spoken to. Now do as I say.
You're on your own. I've been dealing with them all afternoon.
What exactly is that supposed to mean, little brother?
Nothing, Trian. I've been having a great time. The speech you gave to the legless boy about hard work and making something of himself was fantastic.
As heir to the throne, it is my duty to impart wisdom and judgment upon those who need it. Now then, you, get to the feast. Stubborn, aren't you? When I'm king, I will help you get over that. Come, Balin.
That was fun. Nothing like being talked down to by the next king. We can only hope. Perhaps we should get going?
Your Highness, it is an honor to have you here. Have you come to watch these brave warriors do battle in your honor? Your Highness, this proving is in your honor.
Then honor her by doing as she says. Lady Iduken will fight in this proving.
Of course, it is well within your rights. Men and women of Orzammar, we have a late entry to these provings, held on the eve of battle for the honor of House Iduken. I give you the Lady Iduken herself! Congratulations! Frandanivo is as fierce a competitor as I've ever seen. You vanquished every warrior of note in today's proving. The ceremonial helm, commissioned by your father for today's winner, is yours. Your glory honors every warrior here.
Many thanks for your willingness to hear me out, my lady. I wish to speak to you of a matter most urgent. There is a vote coming before the Assembly next week. And a word from you could go a long way towards helping our cause. Oh, I would never ask a favor with nothing given in return. I propose a mutually beneficial arrangement. The vote concerns the status of the so-called surface caste. Lost to the stone, air-touched, and so forth. Centuries ago, narrow-minded men declared that any dwarf who left to live on the surface forfeited his caste, and his house if noble. That he was, in essence, no longer a dwarf. I seek only to remedy an injustice, to retie the bonds of anyone who can trace himself to one of the noble houses wherever he may live. Please, agree to speak for this noble cause. Those on the surface are our lifeline. They facilitate trade with the surface. They're honorable and, well, let's be honest. I don't care a whit for those who have wandered from the stone. My wife, however, is a gem of a different color. She has a cousin, a useless sort, but she's quite fond of him. He joined a speculative venture to the surface, hoping to make his fortune, and went bust. Now he wishes to come home, but he cannot, for he has no house and would be casteless. For my wife's sake, I take up his cause. Will you lend me your voice? When your father presents you to the noble houses, I will ask for your opinion on the matter. You have merely to say that you feel our surface brothers should be returned their noble rights. What could be more simple?
Greetings, my lady Iduken. It is an honor to meet you at last. I have had the opportunity to recently meet with your father. He speaks highly of you. He says you may be the most skilled warrior in all of House Iduken. I have no doubt it is deserved. We need more Grey Wardens like you, and quickly. Even as the Darkspawn weaken here in Orzammar, they are stirring on the surface. A blight has begun. Soon the fight must go beyond the deep roads, lest the Darkspawn threaten all the world. Alas, I do not think he would take kindly to that suggestion. As the child of the king and heir after Lord Trion, your place is here. I wish you luck in the deep roads tomorrow. Show the Darkspawn the might of your people.
Your mother would melt the stone if she knew what you just did. Lord Dace is playing you false. Go ahead, be his puppet. Your first command will be marked by every major house turning their back on you. Last spring, a guild from the merchant caste invested heavily in an expedition with a guild from the surface. Lord Dace backed the merchant guild, pouring a great deal of money into the venture. The expedition was a disaster. Clever child. Lord Dace lost a great deal of money and prestige. The Surface Guild has no way to repay the investment, but it does have several leading members who are descended from noble houses. House Helmi, Bimo, Iduken. You begin to see the whole picture. Your house and mine would be forced to pay the Surfacer's kin debts. It would be a great victory for Lord Dace. Just so, my clever friend. Smile and nod, and when he asks his question, tell him that the so-called Surface Caste are right where they belong. That should take Lord Dace down a peg or two. You're welcome. Remember this when my house needs your assistance.
My king, please reconsider. The trade contracts alone could bring great prosperity to our houses.
Will we really turn our back on our brothers and a potential fortune in cheap labor because of a political technicality?
Denial of the traditions of our people does not qualify as a political technicality. There is more to life than monetary gains, my lords Bimo and Mino. The Assembly of Kal Sharok will respect the rule of Orzammar, or they will rot and die alone, surrounded by enemies.
Yes, my king.
But look, we have company to spare us further wrangling. Atrast Vala, my sweet daughter. How fine you look in your grandmother's armor. I hear you were declared champion of the Provings. I suppose you were never one to sit by when something exciting was going on. Are you ready to be presented to the heads of the noble houses? So dutiful. Very well, let us begin. Lords, ladies, grant me a moment of your time. We are here today so I may present to you my second eldest child, blessed by the stone and born of the blood that ran in the veins of the Paragon Iduken. Who would pose a question to the prospective commander? Who seeks to know the prospect better?
I have a question. I seek to know the prospect better.
Lord Dace, head of House Dace, speak.
Lords, ladies, my question concerns the plight of our wayward kin, the so-called Surface Caste. What does the Commander Prospect think is the proper place for these lost souls?
Are you satisfied, Lord Dace? Do you feel you have learned something about the prospect?
Yes, my king.
Then if there are no other challenges, I give you Orzammar's next commander. Tomorrow, our newest commander will lead part of a mission to strike a great blow to the Darkspawn. Not only does this recover access to some of our most important mines, but it also allows our honored guest Duncan, head of Ferelden's Grey Wardens, to strike far into the deep roads.
Thank you, King Endrin. While the Darkspawn seem to withdraw, it is only because they are massing on the surface. This could mean a blight, and my men and I will discover the truth.
We are honored to have you with us, my friend. Now, feast, drink, and celebrate, for the morning brings battle! As for you, my new commander, find your brother Trion and send him to me. He may be watching the Provings, or getting some rest in his rooms. Walk well, Commander.
I suppose you're proud of yourself. That is the way the games of the Assembly are played. Next time, I will think more of you. If you'll excuse me, my lady.
So you're a commander now, in name at least. Shouldn't you be attending our King Father? Of course he does. We must discuss strategy before tomorrow's battle. Balin, stay here and stroke the new commander's conceit if you like. But then get to bed.
All day I've put up with that. He can really grate on the nerves. And what I'm going to tell you next won't make you any more fond of him. Trian has begun to move against you. I never thought his much-proclaimed honor would allow him to actually act on his jealousy. Big sister, Trian is going to try to kill you. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't overheard him giving orders to his men. Trian's decided you're a threat to his taking the throne. Maybe he's right. Trian's the named prince, but only the Assembly can proclaim a king. It would be unusual for the Assembly to ignore the king's choice, but it does happen.
The founder of House Bimo became a paragon and king in one move from the Assembly, and he was a commoner.
That was an extraordinary case, but at least a half-dozen times the Assembly named a lesser family member, or even someone from another house, as king. Twice, it was a woman. Look at it from his perspective. You're more personable than he's ever been. You entered the provings held in your own honor just for glory and to please the crowds. If you win glory against the Darkspawn tomorrow, it will only strengthen the case for you as the next heir. Trian Fear's father will replace him on the spot. If not, the Assembly will surely turn against him when father dies. You know his pride will never allow him to step aside. You're my elder. I'll respect any decision you make, but please be careful. I don't want to lose my dearest sister. You're welcome. I'm taking your place as father's second, so I'll be at hand tomorrow. For now, try to get some sleep.
May the Paragon smile down on you.
Trian and his men will clear the way for the Grey Wardens to descend into the easternmost caverns. Those caverns are still infested by the worst of the Darkspawn. We cannot risk our own troops in there.
Understood, Lord Haramont. We should be able to sense the Darkspawn and avoid them once the way is open.
May the Paragons favor you, and the stone catch you if you fall.
Come then! Glory awaits!
Balin, you and your men will second the king, clearing the main road.
Don't you think it looks a little cowardly to allow these humans to take our place where the fighting is thickest?
Are you questioning the battle plan?
Of course not. I'm sure your caution is for the glory of us all.
Enough, Balin! Take your men and make ready. Haramont and I need to have words with your sibling.
Good luck, my sister.
Your father has a special mission for you.
In the eastern deep roads, there is a secret door carved into the stone.
The door leads to a Taig, abandoned long ago by your ancestors. The Darkspawn have made it impossible to reach.
My father believed that the shield of the Paragon Iduken remains in that Taig, under the stones of the central room. Reclaim the shield, and glory will be yours.
We've sent 2 scouts ahead to make sure the tunnels are cleared. But be careful. One of the scouts will meet you at the first crossroads you come to. The second will be further in. When you get to the door, use your signet ring to open it. Questions? Very good. The crossroads where you meet the first scout will be the rendezvous point. There you can present the shield to the lords and demonstrate the strength of Iduken.
May the ancestors watch over you, my child.
Looks like someone beat us to the door.
This Darkspawn body is still fresh. Whoever opened the door is most likely still in there.
It could have been stolen. Recently, or generations back.
Or it could be an ambitious cousin out for his own glory.
Understood. Let's move, men. If Trian were really scheming against us, this would be the perfect place for an ambush. We've got the shield, and we're all alone out here. I wish I had your confidence.
What's that you're muttering about? Right you are, Commander.
By the stone, it's Trian!
It must have been a Darkspawn attack. This doesn't look like Darkspawn. No bites, no scratches, no mutilation.
Someone's coming!
Hurry, Father, before it's too...
By all the ancestors. What has happened here?
It seems we weren't fast enough. Valand was right.
My daughter, tell me this isn't what it looks like.
Just long enough to slay Trian.
My lady is innocent.
Sir Gorham, your loyalty makes you a useless witness. It falls to others to tell the story. You, Scout, what happened here?
Trian and his men were here early. It seems they'd done battle with the Darkspawn. Lady Iduken came up to them, all friendly-like, but when we got close, she ordered us to attack.
It is a valid question. The man is low-born and could easily be bought.
Frandlin Ivo, you are a good and noble man. Did the scout speak the truth?
He did, my lord. It was terrible. Prince Trian didn't stand a chance.
You treacherous bastard! Silence, Gorham! Do you have anything else to say, my daughter? I want to believe that. I really do.
Bind her. She will be judged before the Assembly. To Orzammar.
I would have come sooner had they allowed it. How are you? I could be better. I have bad news, though. The Assembly isn't going to call for you. Balin has taken Trian's place in the Assembly. He introduced a motion to condemn you immediately, and it easily passed. He had fully half the Assembly ready to vote on something completely against tradition and justice. He must have been making deals and alliances for months, if not years. I'm afraid so. Some of the lords, especially Harrowmont, are suspicious of Balin's instant rise to power. They are rallying, but far too slowly. The Assembly has already sentenced both of us. I am to be exiled to the surface. But you are to be sealed in the deep roads to fight Darkspawn until you are overwhelmed and killed. It doesn't have to be. Lord Harrowmont gave me access to see you so I could tell you this. Duncan and the Grey Wardens are still in the deep roads, in tunnels connected to those you are to be left in. If you survive long enough to find the Grey Wardens, you may be able to escape with Duncan. Our time is up. May the Paragons guide your sword and the stone hold you up. I will always be your man, my Lady Iduken.
They are ready for you now. Here is the prisoner, Lord Harrowmont.
Having been found guilty of fratricide by the Assembly of Orzammar, you are hereby sentenced to exile and death. Your name is from this point forward stripped from the records. You are no longer a person, nor a memory. You are to be cast into the deep roads with only sword and shield. Dare to redeem your life by fighting the enemies of Orzammar until your death. Do you have anything to say before the sentence is carried out? I understand your anger. You should have been allowed to defend yourself. Had I the power to stop this, I would have. Look me in the eye and tell me you didn't do this. For your father's sake, I believe you. That means Balin planned this from the start. Believe me, I will spend the rest of my days making sure Balin does not profit by his deeds. Your father asked me to give these to you. This sword and shield are of fine dwarven make. Strike a blow at our enemy. I will. Open the doors and let the condemned walk through. May the stone accept you.
By the Maker, it's a dwarf.
Lady Iduken, what are you doing here alone? Where are your troops? I'm aware of your family's experience with these tunnels, but no dwarf has set foot here for years. May I ask what happened? Ah, you have been made to walk the deep roads, then.
You mean you were exiled? What happened?
I do not think matters of dwarven honor are any business of ours. You need not answer, friend. I see. The brutal intrigue of the dwarven court continues, then. Your father intimated as much. There is no reason for you to walk these deep roads and die for something you did not do. You've already proven yourself both resourceful and skilled, and I would expect nothing less from an Iduken. I've been searching for those with your level of ability. Your exploits in the deep roads set you apart. As leader of the Grey Wardens in Ferelden, I would like to formally invite you to join our order. Then welcome. We leave immediately for Ostagar to join with the human forces facing the Darkspawn hordes led by King Cailan. Stay close. There are still Darkspawn around every corner. We will be traveling south through the hinterlands to the ruin of Ostagar, on the edges of the Korkari Wilds. The Tevinter Imperium built Ostagar long ago to prevent the Wilders from invading the northern lowlands. It's fitting we make our stand here, even if we face a different foe within that forest. The King's forces have clashed with the Darkspawn several times, but here is where the bulk of the Horde will show itself. There are only a few Grey Wardens within Ferelden at the moment, but all of us are here. This blight must be stopped, here and now. If it spreads to the north, Ferelden will fall.
Ho there, Duncan.
King Cailan. I didn't expect a
royal welcome? I was beginning to worry you'd miss all the fun.
Not if I could help it, Your Majesty.
Then I'll have the mighty Duncan at my side in battle after all. Glorious. The other wardens told me you'd found a promising recruit. I take it this is she?
Allow me to introduce you, Your Majesty.
There's no need to be so formal, Duncan. We'll be shedding blood together after all. Ho there, friend. Might I know your name? Pleased to meet you. The Grey Wardens are desperate to bolster their numbers, and I, for one, am glad to help them. It's good to see one of the honorable stout folk outside Orzammar. Sounds like there's a story behind that. You must regale me with it sometime. I do. I'll make sure to have the finest dwarven brew brought up from the palace cellars. After we've dealt with the blight, of course. I've been to Orzammar. King Endrin invited my father to a grand proving long ago. How does Endrin fare these days? Well, it seems your story may be even more interesting than I suspected. Allow me to be the first to welcome you to Ostagar. The Wardens will benefit greatly with you in their ranks. I'm sorry to cut this short, but I should return to my tent. Loghain waits eagerly to bore me with his strategies.
Your uncle sends his greetings and reminds you that Redcliffe forces could be here in less than a week.
Ha! Eamon just wants in on the glory. We've won 3 battles against these monsters, and tomorrow should be no different. I'm not even sure this is a true blight. There are plenty of Darkspawn on the field, but alas, we've seen no sign of an archdemon.
Disappointed, Your Majesty?
I'd hoped for a war like in the tales. A king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. But I suppose this will have to do. I must go before Loghain sends out a search party. Farewell, Grey Wardens.
What the king said is true. They've won several battles against the Darkspawn here. Despite the victories so far, the Darkspawn horde grows larger with each passing day. By now, they look to outnumber us. I know there is an archdemon behind this, but I cannot ask the king to act solely on my feeling. Yes, we should proceed with the ritual. Feel free to explore the camp here as you wish. All I ask is that you do not leave it for the time being. There is another Grey Warden in the camp by the name of Alistair. When you're ready, seek him out and tell him it's time to summon the other recruits. Until then, I have business I must attend to. You may find me at the Grey Warden tent on the other side of this bridge, should you need to.